Hey, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 88 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. I'm Jamie Davis, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Mark Tanner.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Mark, we're on number 88. We're cracking on as always. You know, we're moving towards that 100 as we keep aiming
I know, incredible.
You know, and we've had some great topics. You know, the last one we talk about with kind of seasons in business, winter is coming, that kind of thing, just preparing, you know, if anything was to go bad. But the truth is, like, lots of things go well in business, and businesses can have a long run, you know, for a long time, and they always kind of move forward. And part of that is that we need more people, we need more support, and this whole kind of topic of delegating comes into effect. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is that whole kind of, I don't know, is it the art of delegating? Is it being comfortable with delegating, or is it just trying not to suck at delegating?
I suppose trying not to suck at delegating is not a bad one, is it? But no, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we had a conversation, and I was just telling you about a client I used to work with, and this is when I was copywriting, and we started sort of working together, and I was just going to write blogs, posts, actually, short posts on LinkedIn for him, which I started off, and then he came back and he was crossing things through, and he obviously wanted to delegate the writing, but what he didn't want anyone else to do it. It's kind of that thing. I want to delegate this place. I haven't got the time, all this kind of stuff. Haven't got the time to do it. So I want to delegate this. And it just got to the stage where he couldn't even delegate bullet points to me of notes to write about. He, instead of giving me the, say, three or five bullet points he wanted to cover, he would give me those in paragraphs. In other words, he was writing his own post, sending it across to me, and I don't know what he was expecting. And I don't get me wrong, I don't mind that at all. But what was he paying me for? He wasn't. He was writing it, sending it to me, posting it, and paying me. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I think that, and I know I've struggled, and I know that you've said the same. I think everybody struggles with delegation because we always have this. We have this kind of inherent belief, in a way, that no one, if we're passionate about doing something specific, like, with me with copywriting, I don't think anymore that no one can do it as well as I could. And I didn't think I was a really good copywriter, but I still didn't like delegating it because I wanted people to write in my style. And sometimes, and this is the same case as I spoke to this guy, was that I'm not my customer. And that's the other thing, is I write in my style, and I love reading stuff. I do like reading stuff that I write, but I'm not my customer. And so so if I'm writing for people, especially if I'm writing as a freelancer for people, I'm not looking at who I'm writing for. I'm looking at their customer I'm writing for. And so in this case, he wanted things written in a way because it looked good to him. And I was going back to him and saying, yeah, it might look good to you, but you're not your customer. You're not reading it. This is down to certain managers. In this case, managers have particular issues, and they were twofold issues. That's all they were. But I was trying to write stuff that would be eye-catching for them to start reading, but no, he wanted stuff that he wanted in little kind of his own kind of cubbyholes. And sometimes, instead of, if you're going to delegate something to somebody, first of all, you've got to do your research. You've got to get someone that you're confident and you really, really have trust in that you can delegate. So I know that's a difficult area there. And that comes down to interviewing, just as you would probably interviewing someone for a job, in a way. But once you've decided that that's what you're going to do, it isn't going to be the same as you do it, but accept it. And that's the difficult one that we all struggle with, I think. But the trouble is, if you're going to grow your business, you have to delegate. You're not going to grow it as an individual. Even when people say, "Oh, it's my business. I'm a consultant." I bet they got a VA, and I bet they got someone else who does this and someone else who does that. All those people are their team, and they're delegating. So you're never going to. You just don't have the time to be a business owner and do everything.
Oh, man, I've wrote down so many different things there. I mean, there's so many different avenues to discuss and everything like that. Where to start? I think to run through some of the things I wrote down, which we'll run through, right? Because
Yeah.
like, when you're talking now, I'm just like different stories are coming into my head. But that whole kind of thing of delegating to who, we'll get into that. Delegating what, so
Mm.
being like specific. You got that whole thing of yes, okay, manage, but don't micromanage because the reason that you're delegating is for the freedom to do something else, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Also that kind of content stuff that you're saying, I think content's a big one. And I think this happens with a lot with outsourcers and when people come in. So we'll talk about that as well. But on the content, a different kind of way of looking at that, just a little kind of nugget for people is that this is a thing in marketing that it always comes up and it drifts. Like when if you get it right, it starts to drift, and then you're back to a stage where you have to put it right again. And that is that so many people, especially kind of business owners and stuff like that, they get stuck in that wheel of writing for their industry or writing for their peers to kind of show their
Yeah.
authority, to
Yeah.
show that they
Yeah.
are, they know what they're talking about and all this kind of thing, and they use the jargon and all this kind of stuff. But quite rightly, like you said, they're not writing for their audience.
No. No.
Your content should be that gateway. So it
Yeah.
should either be okay, yes, you can highlight your authority, you can highlight your awareness, but your awareness to who? Now, if you're trying
Exactly.
to build up that authority where maybe you want to be invited to conferences and you want to be speaking or something like that, okay, fair enough. But if you're kind of doing your content here as a business and you're trying to get customers, you have to be looking at it as, we go through the whole kind of pain points to the
Yeah. Yeah.
benefits,
Yeah.
what is going to be the eye-catching part and stuff like that. And that's just a nugget to put in because that does happen with business owners and kind of even managers and stuff like that who are doing the things themselves. But it also happens then when they outsource to a third party outside they outsource outside the business, and even when they start delegating within. So like the whole kind of digital marketing apprentice, that kind of thing, it is a big thing. I know we've done different podcast episodes on there and saying they actually get a bit of a raw deal because they get tasked with being responsible and managing and all this kind of stuff, but they've never really been told what to do. And then
Yeah.
also being then told what to do by someone who doesn't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
actually provide something that doesn't end up working. And then it's like, well, that didn't work. It's back on you. But that's a different podcast. Go back and check those out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think and I think there you've covered so many good points there as well, and I think one of the big ones is still, and we've mentioned it, but that whole thing about when you're a business owner, if you have to make that decision when you're posting on. Okay, this was posting on LinkedIn, and other people post on Facebook and all different places, and there's a difference between posting to attract attention from those people uh, you want to start a conversation with for sales, and showing that you are the kind of the thought leader in your organization, in your industry, if you like. And that's where in LinkedIn, especially, that's when people maybe use LinkedIn articles as a thought leader thing, and they'll write into certain groups maybe because they're coming. LinkedIn groups are coming back in again, specifically for trying to get speaking gigs. Maybe I don't know, but this is the other question, isn't it? And this is again before you delegation. Say delegate. What are you delegating? If you're going to delegate something, what do you want as a result? And in this case, the client I used to write for was I want to delegate my writing, but that's just the kind of that's the comment. But you've got to peel and behind that and say, okay, for what? What's the purpose? Is the purpose to make you sound really great thought leadership? Da, 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 great, okay. Or is it the purpose to sell? And if you've got a business, and we were talking about this earlier today, and this is a whole part of the momentum booster program that we've got, is that you're there to sell.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner, talking about things in a wonderful way is great because people get to know your opinion, but people will not pay you for your opinion necessarily. What you're really trying to do there is attract people who will become prospects look at your stuff, who will then become possibly customers. And you've got to get um, those two things sorted out. What am I writing for? And if I'm writing for intellectual thought leadership, is that the right platform, or should I be writing somewhere else for that? And so it comes on to that whole dilemma: is if you're delegating, what's the purpose of the delegation? What do I want as an outcome of that? And where is best for me to delegate? And like you said, who, the whole trust thing, isn't it? Who is the best person for me to delegate? Because in my case, I may not have been the best person for him to delegate, because perhaps he wanted thought leadership stuff in his industry, which I didn't know much about. I was just there appealing to the pain points of his customers.
I mean, that there is another massive topic in business, is that you get a lot of businesses that experiences a lot over the years where they see kind of content marketing and stuff like that as either just a tick box exercise, or it's a chore to them, and they're just like, I want to get rid of it. And it's like, we just want to get rid of it, and it's like, you're outsourcing to get rid of it. There's no real structure or anything like that. You're just chucking out some money now. It doesn't matter, right? Like for me, it's just like, I'm never getting involved in that, because it's like, there's no point to it. You're just going to be creating content for no reason. And you said there's that point then of thought leadership, and stuff like that. And like I said, if you're trying to get that authority side or anything like that, fair enough. But like the stuff that you were doing is the same stuff that like what I was doing and what we kind of teach now. We'll come on to that in a bit. But the whole kind of point is like, it's the content with a purpose, right? It's like you as a business owner, you're kind of going to yourself, right? Okay, I now want to attract the right kind of people into my infrastructure, into becoming a customer of mine, whether that's right now, whether that's kind of moving forward in the near future. Maybe it's even like a longer term play, right? But it's like, I want to put that content out to get that kind of, that awareness and create that kind of intent and through the buyer's eyes. But the whole kind of point there is that you bring someone in, so like that person brings in you, right? You've got an expertise. Right? They should listen to you when you're giving back the expertise. And that's what a lot of issues happen, is that it says you either kind of get that thing of, oh, we just want this, like get on and do it. And maybe in that situation, they don't need someone with expertise. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because there are some really good kind of VAs, but you just need an assistant. It's just going to be an admin assistant that actually just posts something, and that could be a business assistant, like an admin assistant. It could even be like a marketing apprentice, some sort of outsourcer or something like that. That's just going to pump out some content that you kind of want putting out there, and there's companies out there now, social media companies, and they're relatively cheap and stuff like that. And all they're doing is just taking bits off the website and posting it. It's like, there's no real kind of intent there. Like not even taking the good bit from the website, where it's like talking about a product or a service. It's just taking a snippet, a stat, or
something.
Right. So that's that kind of admin side. But if you're at a point where you're looking to kind of grow, and you're bringing in the expertise, you want to listen to those expertise. Now you do want to have some input, because I always kind of feel that a lot of people that kind of outsource it, especially when it's like, right, okay, I want to get rid of it or something like that, is like, if they're an expert in what they do, they're an expert because they know more than the average person. And again, not meaning in a disrespectful way to you, but they know more than you. You don't have a clue. All you know is the right structure to put the right stuff out, and you can research then to kind of get the right information. But their extra kind of bit, that kind of salt and pepper, that seasoning that goes on top of that expertise, they need to put that in to stand out in the marketplace. Otherwise, they're just going to have all the same stuff as everybody else, right? But coming back to that, I mean, that's the thing. That to me is the problem sometimes with delegating. People want to delegate it to get rid of it. So like, if I delegate it now, it's gone, rather than kind of delegating it and not even kind of managing it, but just overseeing it. Just being right, okay, this is the kind of thing I want. Now you, the expert, deal with that. Okay, I'm going to ask my questions to get whatever I need from you to be able to do that, blah, blah, blah. But that there, I mean, not that we've gone off on a tangent there, but there are so many different elements within that of when you're kind of saying, okay, look, who are we delegating to? are we delegating to an expert, or are we delegating to a facilitator and implementer?
Mm. And that's key, isn't it? I mean, it's like going back to things in the business that we do. It's like having the mindset for business. We always start with mindset for business and the psychology, because you have to get that right first. And it's the same with delegation. It's the psychology of delegation, mindset again. Why are you delegating? Because if you're delegating just to get rid of it, then think again, because that's you're going to get back. You're going to put in so little input that you're going to get back rubbish. Basically, you don't put any thought into it. So guess what? You're going to get back something that you might not like it. But hey, that's not surprising, because you never really stipulated what you wanted. So when you delegate, you've got to be pretty savvy. I mean, when you delegate to an outsourcer, really just think of it as a member of staff. Would you want to? You wouldn't want anybody walking into your business and sitting at your desk and doing the work. You'd want to interview them first. You want to find out what makes them tick. You want to find out how good they are at what they say they're doing, and do they have any previous experience or whatever, that kind of stuff. So when you're delegating to an outsource, to a contractor, you need to go through a similar process. You say, okay, these are my ideas. Tell me what you think. Like you said, if it's an expert, tell me what you think. Not what are your values necessarily. Don't need to go into that, but how would you approach this, or how would you do? Just a bit more in depth and say, right, and then the responsibility is that, okay, I'm going to delegate this to you. I'm going to manage you not at all, or this much, or massively. That's how I work. And then the person then can say, well, I'm sorry, I don't like being massively managed. So I don't want to be micromanaged. So I'm not the person for you, because there's two sides to the argument. You don't just outsource to someone who says, yeah, okay, I'll take it. The outsourcer has got to be able to say, hang on, no, that's not how I work. I mean, I've done that before with different customers. And it's not just me. I'm sure loads of people have done that before. But for me, with writing, when somebody wanted written in a very kind of academic, formal style, I've just said, I'm not your man. There's plenty of people who probably could do it for you, and probably do a far better job than I would, because that's what they want to write for. So it's knowing where that person you're outsourcing to, the kind of skills they have. And my skill is making something eye-catching and attracting people to read it. Now, and that's why I can write quite a different topics, because it's the structure that gets people reading, and then the whole idea is that the person who's the business is just gives me some kind of bullet point or paragraphs or research tips to say, okay, this is what I want to include. I want to look at this and that, and I'll do that, and that's fine. That's how I learn new industries. But the person who knows their stuff inside and out aren't necessarily the person who can market their stuff, and there's a huge area.
And that is it. And sometimes like people don't even know what they want marketed. I mean, we've done it where I think it now good. Yeah, was it 6-7 years ago? And we were sat in a boardroom, with two guys from like the company. They want to do some marketing. They want to get more business in and that. And we asked the question, okay, look, what is it you want? X, Y, Z. And one answered, and the other one was like, oh no, we don't want that. Yeah. Like, you didn't even know what you wanted. Like that's the thing. It's like, why are you delegating this? Why are you, why have you brought us in, to basically take over and do this kind of stuff when you don't even know what you want? So it's like, it's crazy. And like that kind of stuff there as well. I mean, that whole kind of managing, micromanaging and stuff like that. Like you said that, I mean, it's so right, isn't it? Like anyone in business, if you brought someone in, as like, you've got, or even if you went into a job, right? Even if you went into a managerial job or anything like that, you wouldn't go in first day and go and manage a client or go and speak to a client on anything like that. There would be, you would go through the processes, you would go through the training. Okay, you would meet people. This is what we do before you actually then do any other job. But when it comes to outsourcing, it's like a click of the finger, as if like, right, go and do that.
Yeah, because
and
that's right.
Like you said, sometimes that there are people out there that just like they raise their hand because they want to take the money, and stuff like that, and they don't care about if they get results or whatever. It's just that you asked for X, here you go. When it's really you want X, Y, Z, but you just positioned it as X and stuff like that. But that whole kind of managing part as well, like, micromanaging. I can remember working with this company, and they had a marketing apprentice, and I was, I'd done the strategy, and then the marketing apprentice was going to start doing some of the stuff and everything like that. And we had created some social posts and some blogs and stuff. And obviously to send them to get approval, there were three different people who could approve these posts and stuff like that, right? And each of them would have different inputs.
Of
So
course, yeah,
okay, it needs to be more like this, and the other one would go, it
yeah,
needs to be more like that and stuff. And we even did it once, but when we sent it to one, we got it back. We sent that to the other one, and they changed it, and it was
yeah,
like, but this was approved to go out, and now you've changed it and said, oh, it needs to be like this. It's like, so who's actually in charge?
exactly, yeah,
It's like we now need one person to have that say, because we need that consistency in our marketing. We don't need to be chopping all over the place and stuff like that. But that there, I mean, I think that's an important lesson for people to take on board also, is that when you come back to writing for your audience and, not your industry and stuff like that, it's like, look, not everyone's going to like it. But what you're at there is the people who do kind of like it are the ones who are going to come forward. And it's that kind of thing now where, like that you were saying, like your kind of writing is like it's thought provoking. So like you kind of read the headline, you're like, what's this about? And then before you know, you've read the whole thing. And now you're like, okay, like I rate that person as an expert, or I'm interested in what they're talking about here, so I'm going to take the next step to go over and find some more information. And it's that kind of thing. And it's like, that's what we want from the marketing. But if you are micromanaging and you're just like, all right, okay, look, we need to change this to this because this is more of what I would say, or this is more the industry term and stuff like that, it's like, what's the point? You may as well
exactly.
Do anything else.
Yeah, that happened. Though I remember writing, and I'm sorry, I'm talking about writing, but this is all to do with delegation. But writing for a flood management company, and they wanted the way they were academics. They were brilliant at what they did, but had no idea about marketing. And they decided they were going to start a flood management company as consultants. So they were trying to sell themselves. So they had to become not a commodity, but they had to be selling themselves as a service. So you've got to so your mindset changed straight away from being the expert at flood management. You're now a marketer. You have to become a marketer. And I think a lot of people who are expert in their field, or not necessarily, I mean, obviously they know their stuff, because they're not marketers, because they think that they can't become a marketer. They just want to, I'll delegate that because they could do my marketing for me. But they can't do their marketing for you because they have no idea about how you think, and the expertise you have, and where the expertise is, and what you're particularly good at, what your strengths are, and again what your weaknesses are. So there has to be delegation. This is the art, I guess, part of delegation. No, I suppose that's more of a science part of delegation. The science of the delegation is you've got to have a conversation, and you've got to be quite factual about who you are, and who that person is you're delegating to, and this is where I want you. These are the points I want you to make to attract the audience I want. And so many people delegating aren't even really aware of that properly. They're not marketers. They don't want to be marketers. So instead, they think they can hide behind someone who can do it for them, and that the leads will just flood in and they can do it. That I don't think that really works very much.
I mean, the thing is as well, like that there is like, it's a classic thing of like cycles in business, cycles in marketing. Is that we kind of mentioned before, is that there will be something that works, and then it'll stop working and something else will be working and stuff like that. And then you see it go on, and then technology enhances stuff and it becomes something different, right? So just going back to like we spoke about it before, where you imagine going back in kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, you might have like an online radio station, right? Yeah. And there'll be like a radio show once a week or something like that. And it's like, well, now you've got podcasts, right? It's like, it's just that kind of natural kind of ascension. The same thing with like, blogging became the same as like, you might get like a teenage girl kind of thing, keep a diary, right? Yeah. And then it went online, it's my blog. And then it's like, it's my vlog. And now a blog is like a lead generation tool within business to kind of bring people in, right? So there was probably a time, going back 10 years ago, there was probably a time where yeah, you could probably just chuck anything out on social media and you would get leads, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Probably to a small extent now. It probably in the trade industry might be able to get away with that. So you think of plumbers and electricians and all that kind of stuff, like you might be able to get away with that because if something's not working and someone wants it fixed, they're going to be looking to get it.
yeah, that's right.
So they're the only kind of ball game, that can do that. But that, like you said, I think some people get caught up in even that kind of lazy mindset of like, oh, I just want you to bring all the leads for me and stuff like that. And it's like you don't understand. Like if you're involved, for one, it makes it easier. For two, it makes it predictable. Once we get the right kind of system in place. But three, you get to grow on it. You get to build on it. Whereas if you're just doing the lead, just the lead thing without someone and stuff like that, it's just a level. Unless you are like a massive business that has loads of money that you can just chuck at ads and stuff like that and just bring in, leads all the time, and it's just a cost of, sell kind of thing, a cost of acquisition. But for most businesses, especially if you're doing under a good few million, you're not going to have that luxury. It comes back to that kind of sweat equity and stuff like that. It is that thing where you get like organic marketing versus paid marketing. Which one should I do? It's like, well, do both. Why do you need to pick one? Like, you don't. It's like you can build different channels, but if you don't have anything that's working and you want to jump to paid, well, you're probably just gambling then because you don't know what's working, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, but if you do have something that's working and is working organically, and you chuck money behind it and it works also, but you're not just going to stop doing the organic one because the paid one comes in. It's like do both.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah, that's true.
Both and stuff like that. So going off on a bit of a tangent on that one, but the whole kind of point there is like you have to know what it is that you want to delegate and why. And you have to get you have to get that expertise involved if you want something extra which you don't have. If it's just a task, then okay, look, you could get someone in that you're training them to actually just complete a task. And this is, I guess we are a bit biased with marketing and sales and business and stuff like that because that's what we do. But obviously, if you're doing it in a way where like a business admin member of staff comes in, you want to be delegating the task to free you up, to
exactly. Well,
to create that process that someone else can do it and you can then move on to do other things.
Yeah, and that's the point. And it's interesting as you were talking then because I was just thinking about people who delegate bookkeeping as another one. So, one of the first things that many business owners think, right, I can't do bookkeeping, I'm delegating. I want you to do my bookkeeping. So the bookkeeper says, well, what do you want me to do with your bookkeeping? Well, you do my monthly returns or I want management reports and stuff and all the rest of it. And I want, blah, blah. Okay, so first of all, it's okay. So which system do you use? How do you invoice all those kind of things going on, and the costs, and who looks at the costs, and do you want me to look at the costs, and do you want me to think about this? And all of a sudden, the bookkeeper, if they're really really good at saying putting so many options to the person who's delegating the bookkeeping, who probably didn't do it properly in the first place anyway because they didn't like bookkeeping, just gets overwhelmed. They think, well, I don't know this, I don't know that, and all of a sudden the bookkeeper is thinking, well, how can I take this on? How can I take this on properly if I don't really know what you want? So that's why a lot of bookkeepers come with a written, whatever, a list of charges and schedules. This is what I do. I do this, this, and this, and this to take the thinking away from them. And to a certain extent, that works. I've heard stories in the past of companies where the bookkeeper just basically was and this doesn't happen very often, don't get me wrong, but was basically embezzling the company because the owner didn't have a clue about the bookkeeper, the amount. They knew what they were making, but they didn't. The costs were kind of I've got a direct debit for this and I've got something for that. They've never really monitored them. And situations where the whole finance team have been involved in embezzling from a company because it was outsourced as a finance unit, and the owner never bothered to keep his eyes on it and keep monitoring it. So delegation, you can't just give it away. You've got to keep some kind of control, even if that's a monthly get together and say, okay, how's it going? And getting to know the figures. Because I know one of the things we talk about all the time, isn't it, is measurements. So if you're going to delegate, one of the things you need to get back is a measuring of how effective it is, whether it's a bookkeeper, whether it's a copywriter, um, whether it's a market, a whole marketing consultancy.
That, 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 just to jump in on that, I mean, that's a great point though, just to bring up, is that you also have to look at the kind of time frame that you're looking at.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think a big part there is like you will get a lot of people going, okay, like, I want to bring in, a marketing consultancy, business consultant, whatever it is, or maybe just I want to bring in someone to do SEO, right? And it's like, okay, look, let's go down that kind of 3-5 levels of why, to really find out what's going on. And it's like, right, okay, I want to bring in SEO because I want more leads. It breaks down first. Okay, I've been told SEO is a great tactic to use. I've heard someone talk a good game. I'm thinking I need that. I'm thinking that I need to bring in, leads with it. And it's like, okay, but it's going to take 6 months.
Yeah.
If you've just got the funds there for a month, it's no good, because you're now going to run out of money. You're going to get into that whole kind of pressure you're going to put on the outsourcer, because you're going to be, I need this working and everything like that. And it's like, okay, look, you need to play the long game here. So it's like, you have to have that in your mind also. So when you're kind of delegating, it's like, okay, look, what is it you're delegating? So coming back to what you said with a member of staff, you're taking on a member of staff, like you're taking them on for the long game, right? You're not looking, okay, I'm going to bring this person in for 6 months, then get rid of them, or something like that. You're thinking to yourself, right, okay, I'm going to bring this person in, I'm going to get a good 3 years out of them, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe they stay with us for 50 years, right? It's a good investment then, because you don't have the kind of recruitment costs and stuff like this. You get to train the person up and everything. But what you'll see there is people will bring in like some sort of marketing support or something like that for a couple of months, not really see any results or something, and then kind of get rid of them. And it's like, but if you would have just kept going, and we would have got to 6 months, and we would have got to 1 year, and then 2 years and stuff like that, and you would see the business go from like, 100K to 250K through that kind of stuff that you're doing. But because you chop it off at 2 months, you don't see anything. And so we did the whole podcast on like the tale of two businesses. And these are real businesses that we know, and one that invests in the right people and the right kind of advice and the right infrastructure and stuff like that. And the one that tries to do everything themselves all the time, and it's like the one that's trying to do itself all the time probably is going to be out of business this year or next year.
Yeah, that's right. And I totally agree. And going back to delegating to contractors as opposed to employees, intrinsically it's the same thing. It's your team. So you have to approach delegation to a contractor the same way as you wouldn't, like you said, you're in there for the long term. You also, when you take on an employee, you want them to grow into being able to produce, into being able to be more effective for you. So it's the same with the contractor. You want you want to get a great relationship with that contractor so that they can grow with your business. And maybe you have a contractor for 3 years, and eventually maybe you decide that when I've got the cash flow, I can employ somebody. That's the logical person you offer the job to, because they've grown up with you. They may not want to do that, but it's that whole thing about people approach it thinking that getting a contractor is like the silver bullet. Oh, I can't afford to take somebody on. I can't afford the cash flow and all that training, and I can just take on a contractor who's already got the training. But they haven't got the training in your business necessarily, and how you work in it. So there's still it's that delegation and to a contractor that we're talking about that you've got to be careful of. But going back to that, delegating to your employees as well. Your employees don't want to be micromanaged. Your employees need to know really what you want from them. And again, I'm writing for another company at the moment. We're talking about the whole delegation thing on to their staff, and one of the things we're saying is if you've got particular issues and challenges you want your workforce to help you with, then get them involved from the very beginning. Delegate out to them or part to them, even the problem solving in the first place, so they can start to come up with innovative ways of maybe that you hadn't thought of. because we all know, we don't have all the ideas in our head. And you use them as your kind of mini mastermind.
It is that mastermind, but it's that innovation. Is that the innovation come from the staff? Like, how many times have we sort of spoken about, and you see it all the time and stuff like that, is decisions are being made by someone in a head office. You think now, like, how many times is there like a government decision or something like that, and it's like you're looking at that from an ivory tower kind of thing, and not the people that it's affecting. And stuff like that. And it's the same thing sometimes within business, and even with smaller businesses, and maybe they have a few people there and stuff like that. It's that decisions are being made because that's the way we've always done it, or this is the way we think we should do it. Like I said, 3 different people in managerial positions giving different views on social posts. So all of a sudden now, one of those would have a different view on how something would be done. If they just went ahead and did it, it would upset the other 2 and maybe the other people and stuff like that as well, without getting that right kind of information. There's, we'll get into management and that on another time, but that with that innovation, we did a podcast episode once where we spoke about this, and there was a story, I think it's Starbucks, and they champion their staff to innovate what they're doing. And I think there was a story that we talked about, and it was about a mop or something like that. They used to mop it in a certain way, but now it was like, okay, if we change the kind of mop that we use and stuff like that, we can actually mop more frequently and have the place look better in less time.
Exactly.
And that came from the employees who were actually doing it.
Exactly. This is the thing. It's the people who are actually doing it who have the best ideas of how to get it done. And if you haven't got to be, it's not rocket science, is it? When you walk into a room and people are moaning about, it takes so long to do this. If it was my way, I'd do it this way and that way. You think, that's not a bad idea. Why not try it? I worked for ages back. I was finance manager for a charity. It was for accessible transport, and we had a girl there who did all the scheduling. She did all the scheduling for the I think 16 minibuses and their pickups and everything, all the rest of it. And every day every day the CEO was coming in. Why has she done that? Why has she gone there? That doesn't make any sense. Why she said that? And the schedule would come in because they need to do here, then they need to go there, and then they need to pick up. And it was made perfect sense. But the CEO all she could see was more mileage, more petrol being used. And he said, but we're not they're in the business for getting people out of their homes and getting people to supermarkets, not to skimp on as much as they can on diesel or petrol, because again, it comes back to the delegation. Why are you delegating, or why did you ask the scheduler to do it? What are their conditions that you want them to work with? If it's to save as much petrol as possible, well, I'm sure they could do that, but it wouldn't be very effective.
We said earlier about kind of delegating. We said about who you're going to delegate to and what you're going to delegate. But we didn't get into why. And that there, like you said, is a great thing, is that you said that there'd be someone who, they're thinking, well, why are we spending more money on mileage and stuff like that? And it's just like, the reason why is because X, Y, Z, we delegated this to this person to do such and such because we're going to get a greater return. We're going to get a greater user experience.
Get better service.
And stuff like that. And I think sometimes, another topic as well, it doesn't really get spoken about on that kind of delegating side is you're actually looking to reduce the risk. Because if you have someone who is in control of something, like they're in control of their department, or they know everything, they know all the passwords and all this kind of stuff, they go sick, they get injured, God forbid they die, right? Like you have nothing, you've relied on that person. So as like a business grows and stuff like that, you look to delegate sometimes to reduce that risk, to mitigate that risk, and go, okay, look, now we have several people who can do the same job. I think is it the Volvo sort of way of doing things or something like that? And it's like they move people around in different positions.
They move people around,
so they can do it, and they can actually do it. And there's I think like the football club Ajax as well. I think they do something in their academy. So like all their players play in different positions.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's like one month they'll be playing left back, and the next month they'll be playing striker. And it's like there's lots of lessons in that. Like one is to get there, it's just to try them out because they may be better in a different position. Who knows, kind of thing. Two, they get to play in that position, so they get to understand it a bit more. So when they then move it back into another position, they know the striker is going to be making certain runs in that because that's what they had to do. But then three, if something goes wrong, they can fill in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, and it's true, and it used to happen. I mean, guess what? Go back to the 60s and the 70s with apprenticeships. It's exactly what it were all about. The apprentice learned from the master, and it was okay. It wasn't delegation, but it was basically, you learn this role, you learn this job, and you can either take over from the master, or you can go out and be a master somewhere yourself. But the whole point is that you're shadowing everything. And I'm not saying you can have that with someone who you delegate with, that kind of shadowing idea. But the point is that you've got to give them, whoever it is, member of staff, subcontractor, it doesn't matter. If you're going to delegate, you've got to give them a chance, to half a chance to be able to get the job right for you, because you've got to explain not just scientifically, this is the job done, 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 but what you're expecting, as you said, it's the why. So going back to this scheduling thing, the lady who did the scheduling, she wanted to give the best service and get the most people out that she possibly could. The CEO, obviously, that either she wasn't thinking that way, or her thinking was, I just want to save as much money I can on the scheduling. So there's two different. Why am I getting the scheduler? Well, the CEO wants to save money, but the scheduler wants to deliver the best service. So again, it's that conflict because neither were talking to each other. And I think what's essential with any kind of delegation is the constant talking to each other. You delegate everything, delegate everything. That's fine, but it's then that constant review and how are things going, and have you got more ideas, and I've thought of this, and would this be useful? And just that exchange of ideas, that communication, because you just become a stronger team.
That delegated, and we said about outsourcing and stuff like that. Now, I think we've very much got this as in a business and a business function. Now, you may get the kind of outsourcers like a contractor, like you might get, say, you're changing your office or your shop or something like that, and you're getting a contractor in to be a refiter and stuff. It's like it's a bit different to what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, but when we kind of look at just if anyone's listening, and just trying to put a partition between some things out there that are there's probably a different kind of whole game and stuff like that in there. But for what we're talking about here, I think like quite rightly, like what you were saying, and the reason I'm saying this is to make the big point is that coming back also is the whole kind of outsourcing thing about people looking to get rid of stuff. Is like, okay, look, if there's certain expertise that you have to kind of get someone else in, like fitting out a shop or an electrician or something like that, that you let them get on with it. You don't know, you let them get on with it. But when you're bringing someone in to support your business and your function and stuff like that, you should never be looking to get rid of it. Like that whole thing, like you just said then, is that it should be a two-way street, a two-way conversation. Is that if you delegate something to someone and they're doing it, you want them to be able to come back and either say, look, something's not quite right. I don't quite get something. I think we can improve this. And you can then go back, because even though you're delegating it and you're looking to free yourself up, you're still looking to elevate that there, because your time is probably chopped and spread thinly between different things anyway. So when you delegate it to someone and that becomes their role to just do that, in theory, they should do it better than you. Maybe not straight away, but over time, they should make that a whole kind of unit in itself that is a return on investment through the time that you spent delegating it.
And I think that's the return on investment is the thing that you hit on the head. I think so. When you take on a member of staff, you should treat them as an asset. They are going to work for you, and they're going to produce you more of an outcome than the income of their salary, okay, and the training and all the rest that goes with it. And but as an asset, especially a human asset, they need to be nurtured, they need to be talked to, they need to be involved, they need to be built. And a contractor is exactly the same. You've got to, once you take on the contractors, instead of calling them an asset, it's a return on investment. I am investing in this contractor to give me a return. So again, it's that asset. So if you want that return to be as best as it possibly can be, you've got to be speaking to them. You've got to be just making sure that they're okay and they're happy. And are they getting the right information from you to do what you want them to do? Do they have any ideas? I mean, because contractors they still have ideas, and they might come back, you do this way. How about changing it around and doing that? And oh wow, that's a great idea. because they're not just there to do a job. They're also thinking people, and they've done this kind of job for many people probably so many times, because they may, for example, again, a virtual assistant, maybe a virtual assistant bookkeeping, probably does bookkeeping for several different organizations. So listen to them when they say do you know what? You do this way, but why don't you bring in this process and it can be so much smoother? I think, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Listen to them, have a conversation. But I think the contract or freelancers, whatever to have that divide. Sometimes they are given a rough deal because the person delegating, just going back to what we were saying at the very beginning, just think, I just want to get rid of this, and without any kind of explanation really of what's in. Well, maybe some explanation, but nothing in depth about exactly what's involved, and probably no trial period either. That's the other thing. You take on an employee, there's a trial period, isn't there? The same with the contractor. Given if this works, then I'll pay you more, or I'll do this. But again, there's that trial period.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is definitely something that's missed a lot, isn't it? And like like a reward as well. Like going back to like saying about football and that. Like you get a goalkeeper, they get a clean sheet bonus, right? If you get a striker, they get a goal scoring bonus. It's like, but that's their job. That's what they're brought in to do.
Yeah.
But they actually get a bonus on top, and it's like you can actually do something like that. You've got, look, I'm bringing you in to do this. If it's done well, if we achieve this by this time, I'm going to pay you more, or I'm going to give you this opportunity to do this also, and stuff like that. And the same thing with, bringing on a new member of staff. Like you're bringing in a member of staff to delegate something too, but the dream there is for them to move up stages, and it's like that actually brings us to a good point to stop on, because I know that kind of bringing through stages and stuff like that was something we were going to talk about on the next episode, because in business, we rarely give ourselves a promotion, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that one. Like just before we do wrap up, you mentioned earlier, mate, just we were on a call, with our Momentum Booster members and stuff like that, and that kind of tool there, you were giving about turnover. You say, a lot of businesses, like the whole kind of hype is around growth and scale, and get your processes, and you can get build your freedom and stuff like that. But before any of that happens, you need a business. You need to be making turnover. You need to be making money, to do it and stuff like that. And it's something that gets missed. And I thought I just bring that up because a lot of people get stuck on that and the cash flow and everything. And this is what we do in Momentum Booster. Right? We've got a monthly membership. We've got calls every week. We've got training. We've got support. We've got accountability. All this kind of stuff. If you want to know more, there'll be a link in wherever you're watching this to check it out. But I thought I'd mention that just before we wrap things up. What, is there anything you want to add on Momentum Booster, or with the whole kind of delegation?
I just think, I will say Momentum Booster, we're here to help you grow your business. I mean, that's what we do. And I think that, the Booster is all about helping you to grow your revenue, and revenue is so important. It's the first place of starting.
I love that. And also, I'm actually happy that we got to the end of the episode, and we didn't actually get into how rubbish I am at delegating. So dodge that bullet, right? And we did, but so it is right. I mean, I know that it's something that I need to work on, because it helps then with doing things. But it's just like you said, it is letting go. And I think talking through with you there as well is like, for me, I realized then it's like it's not about letting go. It's actually about growing. And it's actually bringing more people in to add to that innovation and that growth and stuff like that. To be able to do it. So that's definitely helped me make a decision and kind of moving forward. So as always, it's been a pleasure, right?
Yeah, it has.
So, we'll wrap things up now, mate, and I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.